So, welcome everyone to Thrivecast, Unlocking Your Full Potential. I'm Oscar. I'm an emotional fitness coach, and I help people reclaim their energy so they can embody their higher self and then live their true soul purpose. And with me today, I have Katarina Hansens Carlson, that is my co-host. Please, Katarina, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Thank you. Thank you, Oscar. So, I'm an entrepreneurial blueprint consultant. I work with spiritual entrepreneurs and spiritual leaders to find their soul purpose and to be extraordinary entrepreneurs and leaders. So, what is our topic for today? Your soul aligned identity. Now, for those of you who say, well, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist, or I'm an agnostic, or whatever, just listen up anyway, because honestly, I have never met anyone who's extraordinarily happy, who's in balance, who's successful, who's fulfilled, who is not aligned with their soul. Never. It's never happened. So just give it a chance. It doesn't have to be religious. In fact, it's better not if it's religious, actually. So the first question is, what is a soul aligned identity? Well, you ask any child, and if they're brought up with an open mind, they'll tell you. It's your relationship with God. It's your relationship with the universe. It's the relationship with the great force. And that's exactly what it is. It's who we truly are. And when you're aligned with your soul identity, you're pretty much unstoppable. And when you remind yourself of your soul identity, there's nothing that you cannot do because you're aligned with the whole universe. You have access to universal knowledge because there are great leaders and great coaches in the world who do not know the distinction between your brain and your mind. Your brain, excuse me, does not think. It's a receptor. Your mind thinks. And it's very important to have that distinction. Your brain is a receptor. It's highly intelligent, yes, but it's also your mind that thinks. So if your right brain and left brain is open, if they're both open, you can receive universal knowledge. Now, if you're skeptical, close down, there is no God, there is no help for us on this planet, your left brain will be closed down and it won't receive. If you're open-minded like children are, that's why they're operating from 98% genius. Their minds, their souls are aligned. Their brains are aligned until we dumb down them, unfortunately, in schools. So, what is your soul identity? It's who you truly are. You're not your name, you're not your address, you're not your email, you're not your business, you're not any of that. You are way more than that. And when you find your true established soul identity, then nothing is impossible to you. Now, should you do everything? No. Focus on one thing at a time. Complete it and go to the next one. All right, Oscar, what do you say? What is a soul-aligned identity?
Well, there's a lot of things that just came up to me as this just progressed over and over and over. But there are key things that I want to speak about here. You mentioned children operate at 98% genius. So why is that? Well, for me, a aligned identity has to do with purity, has to do with innocence.
Mm.
And that purity and innocence is essentially the receptivity of being able to embrace what God and the universe like that encodes inside of us. Now, every person is unique, and what is very fascinating is that now the next level computers that are created are actually no longer made of silicon, a little bit of a chip in that sense. It's actually crystals. It's crystals that becomes engraved with light patterning. It's a gitter that creates the crystal, right? So it's essentially a crystal that has connection. So if you think of your brain, that actually in itself, it has more connections than there are atoms in the universe, right?
Yeah.
And it's that extraordinary. But it also, from your birth, from the day, from the day when you were thought about until your birth and so forth, the universe, because of the construction of the planets and all of these things, it creates a soul blueprint of you that this energy can go through and move through. We call it meridians, some people call it brain patterns, whatever it is. But the thing is that if we then if we keep this purity, then the light can pass through that gitter and then there is an outcome because the import is pure, the outcome becomes pure. So a soul aligned identity, someone who's no longer resisting towards its own blueprint and towards the light that passes through it. So it just channels it into the world, and the channeling of itself is what fills you up from the inside, just because of the light passing through you, and then it gets into creation, into the world. So a soul aligned identity is simply someone who opens up its blueprint for the light to pass it through, and then through that in itself, just creation happens.
Beautiful.
That's what I would say.
Beautiful. I love it. I love your soul blueprint. That's exactly what we're doing. Because, we all have a soul. Let's stop denying it. We all have a spirit. We all have a mind. Very few people would argue with that. But some people are called mindless. Maybe because they don't use their minds and use their brains and use their soul and spirit. Okay. So, yeah, brilliant. Oh, I want to define the difference between soul and spirit because it's something that actually I've wondered for a long, long time. Now, why do we have a soul? Because that is what is eternal in us. We're actually a tiny little spark of light, like Oscar was mentioning. We're not our bodies. We have this tiny little spark of light right within us, which is eternal, goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. So we need to watch out what we do in this lifetime because it's not that, we just live this lifetime, we die, we're buried in the soil, that's it. No, it goes on forever and ever and ever. And every feeling that you've ever felt throughout maybe thousands of years, if you believe in past lives or not, doesn't matter, is recorded in your soul. That's why most children are born wise. Well, they all already have a personality. Well, where does that come from? Doesn't come from nothing, comes from their soul and their spirit, right? They already know who they are, what they want, what they don't want. And a little baby will scream its head off and everybody will know about it if they don't like the situation, if they're hungry or, need to be changed or something like that. Your spirit remembers and recalls every single thought that you've ever thought. So when you talk about your soul identity, it's emotional. It's emotional. It's who you are. So once you find it, you'll be filled with emotion to know who you truly are. You're not just a human being. You're more than that. You have a soul identity. Now, if you're in business and you're coming from your soul identity, you're going to do way, way better than otherwise. Way better. Why? Because your mind, your brain is open to the universe, to universal thought. It's open to genius. Wouldn't you like to have a genius in your business? That's you. Okay, so question number 2. How is it to live without a soul aligned identity? Well, if you look at slavery, how could people possibly go to Africa, kidnap men, women, and children, put them in chains, put them on a boat in filthy circumstances, where many of them died and were thrown overboard, and then use them as slaves? And if they didn't obey or do what they were supposed to do, in labor every single day, like pick cotton, they were beaten. Well, their excuse was, white man's excuse was, well, they don't have a soul, so they don't feel anything. Well, excuse me, have you ever looked into a slave's eyes? They have a soul. The eyes are the windows of the soul, right? Have you ever looked at a horse's eyes? I love watching horses on movies because they don't know they're in a movie. I mean, the whole of life could be a movie for them. But you see the whole of existence through their eyes. There's so much emotion in a horse's eyes, or sometimes in a dog's eyes. Not every dog necessarily, but animals have souls. Human beings have souls. So what is it like to live without that? It's like a dead life. You feel lost, disconnected, that life is empty and meaningless. Well, life is only, the meaning of life is what we give it, right? So if you're feeling lost, bored, empty, that there's no point to life, think again. Because you are a soul. You have a soul identity. You are a spirit. But if you think about it, there are billions of people who are in major anxiety right now. They're afraid because they don't know who they are. They don't know what's happening to the planet. Scary things are happening to our planet right now. But if you are soul aligned, then you are at peace. Okay, Oscar, your turn. What is it like to live without a soul aligned identity?
Well, I'm gonna take you up on that thing that you talked about, slavery. Like, what is it that causes someone to need a slave? What is it that makes them then is like, oh, I need this because of my own benefit? And I'm going to go into genetics here, actually. And I'm going to speak about the gene keys. for someone who doesn't know about it. Now, the absolute strongest gene key we have in our body is the 34. Now, the 34, it has the shadow of force. The shadow of force, the gift is strength, and the city, which is the highest absolute expression of it, is majesty. Now, think about this. This is a long time ago. People forcefully used slaves in order for they needed for their benefit, right? Now, the interesting thing is that the reactive side of the 34th gene key, on the shadow side, is to be a bully. You are a bully. So people that are not in touch with spirits on the reactive side, when they are outwardly facing, maybe extroverts or sort of like that, right? They become bullies. They force their ideas upon others. Now, on the other side, there are those who become self-effacing. So they take a step backwards. They are self-eliminating. So you can either be self-eliminating or bullying. And there are two expressions of the force of being in a forceful way of life. Now, that is what happens when you are no longer, when you are not following the spirit within you. You have a blockage that stops you from essentially allowing that purity of light that I spoke of before to pass through the gitter of your soul, because you have a blockage there that stops you, so you become a bully. But inside of you, you are also feeling that you are lacking force. So you are using external force to try to get your will out there, right? They are using slaves in order to try to fix their life. That is an analogy of what happens when someone essentially tries to live life without spirit. Now, there are 64 gene keys, everyone with a reactive and a repressive side. So, but essentially, we all bounce back and forth in the shadow archetypes until we fully release them from our system. And that makes us get stuck, repeat the same pattern, create mayhem in other people's lives and in our own lives. And we just feel unfulfilled, simply. And it just creates, we keep on doing it because we know no better, but the soul or the spirit, whatever, we just feel less and less energized, and we pull in more and more sickness into our system and so forth. And so more and more people are against us, yet we don't know what to do. So we keep on doing the only thing we know, right? We do not take away, we don't walk away from the treaded path. We don't dare to walk out into the forest and forge our own path. So that is what this is about. When you live not a soul-aligned life, you are forcing your way through life. Either you are self-enforcing or you are forcing others. And again, it's not just force. There can be so many other things as well. But that is a way to have an understanding of all of this. That's what I would say.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank
All
you.
right. So our last question, how do you find your soul-aligned identity? Now, I'm not going to promise you're going to find it right now, but I'll give you some clues. And that would be, go back to before you were 6 years old, when you were operating from 98% creative genius, according to Dr. George Land and his NASA research that was done 62 years ago in schools to realize that we were dumb-downing children. We still are. Nothing much has changed. So go back to the time before 6. Some of you may remember, some of you may not, but just Then imagine, look at your photo albums. Who were you being at that time? Most children think in an unlimited way. They can't understand poverty. They can't understand disease. They can't understand most adults and how we think. And it takes them a long time to figure us out. Because actually, in their own way, they are pure, I wouldn't say, yeah, the word simplicity and the word pure comes to mind. They're pure souls. But when I say a simple soul, I don't mean an unintelligent. I mean a highly intelligent, evolved soul. So think of a moment in your childhood when you were extraordinary. You were loving. Most children are very, very loving unless they're deprived, completely deprived of love. And even so, many children are loving even if they're deprived by love, even if they're beaten and abused, and that still goes on, as you know. So children are very generous natured. They're very, very much in contact with their soul identity, although they wouldn't say that. They wouldn't use those terms unless their parents used those terms. But think of who you were as a child. And what you could start with is an I am statement. I am a child of God. What if you said that to yourself every single day? I'm a child of God. Well, it's the truth. It's in the Bible. There's more in the Bible, but let's start with that. If you are a child of God, then everybody else is, right? And does that make you more loving, more kind? Yes, automatically, doesn't it? If you say to yourself, I am a child of God, your brain opens, your mind opens, you become like a genius, you're open to thought. And if you think about somebody you don't like, we all have somebody we don't like, and if you say to yourself, I am a child of God, they are a child of God, there's nothing but peace between you. Okay, so that is a key to your soul identity. Now, if you want to find it in a deeper way, work with me or work with Oscar. So, Oscar, what would you say? How do you find your soul aligned identity?
Yeah, I think what you're saying there, Katarina, is definitely a lot of a key. If you, I mean, there's something that definitely happens from one after I would say after 7 years old. Even if I look at old pictures of me, I can see that there's a less spark in light, in the eyes. So finding pictures when you're young, if you have them, you can connect with them. Then you have somewhat of a direct path to that little you, and that is one thing, right? And then obviously I work with many, and if I start at this point, people can have really hard. It's hard for them to even go there, and they can say like, I don't even remember anything. I have no recognition of it, and that is what we've been speaking about in this podcast, that we put up blockages. And so in order for us to truly go there, to find our innocence again, we need to let go of the things that stops that innocence from being there. And demands for us to really look at the things in our life that are painful. And when we go to that pain and we stay with that pain, we will come to the younger you, to that child. And that child, when you establish the connection there and you start fulfilling those needs, whatever it is in those present moments, and you care for it and you tender to it, then it's like you are merging. You are merging with that younger part of you, and you becoming more pure and so forth. And you get to hear more its wisdom, because most people forget that they've been young. They forget the purity they come from and so forth. Now, children is one way. Then there are ascended masters that we've spoken of before. Some people might connect to Jesus. Some people connect to Rampa. Some people to maybe Shiva. Who knows? But the whole idea of this, and why I spoke about gene keys as well, is that when you read about the balanced expression of an archetype, your body knows. It remembers. And you start maybe feeling pain that you're not really there, but that pain is just an indication of, oh, you just follow that pain to what it is that it's showing you. And then when you release it, then you're going to embrace that archetype within you way more. So it is a journey. And most people don't start that journey because we think that, maybe somehow it's going to be better next year. Somehow, maybe my big break comes tomorrow. But guess what? Like, tomorrow is just a new now. So it's now, or not necessarily never, but now is always, it's the only thing you have. So start now. Start looking into that child. Start finding that archetype. Start finding expressions in people you love that you feel. Maybe go into the shadows. Maybe dare to follow that pain. Release it. And if you have trouble doing it, again, like Katarina said, go to an expert like Katarina or me, and we help you. Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, everybody, we are going to do 4 more episodes like this, and it's all going to be about your soul identity, your soul blueprint. So, hang with us and subscribe and like, please. And so, Oscar, how do we connect with you?
You reach me through realitydecoding.com. You can have a 30-minute conversation with me there. And we basically go through where you are, where you want to go, what is your main things that, that stops you from not feeling this purity in your life. And then we start taking care of that one shadow at a time. That's what we do at Reality Decoding. You can also go to YouTube and look me up there. I'm Oscar Nygren, and I have a Facebook group. If you want to connect with empaths and soul-aligned people and light workers and all of that, then you go to Live Your Purpose on Facebook. Yes, that's what you can do. All right. And you, Katarina, how do people get you?
You, Oscar. For me, LinkedIn, Katarina Hansens Carlson, which formerly is Catherine Carlson as well. So if you want to find your spiritual soul blueprint, who you are, what your driving purpose is, what your soul vision is, what your sabotage identity is, and reinvent it, contact me on LinkedIn. So our next episode is going to be the hidden identity trap. It's going to be part 2, the hidden identity trap. We all have a trap. It's not stuff outside of us that stops us. It's not our our spouse or our children or our parents or lack of money or anything like that. It's within, which is the good news, actually. It's the good news.
The
So
good
thank
news.
you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Yes, absolutely. Take care, everyone. Bye.